I'm going to start off with this is the Irish Daily Mail, and we have Wales shock here, and obviously turmoil after coach Howley sent home amid betting claims, and this is basically back page of all the tabloids this morning. Llorente's revenge on Liverpool. Fernando Llorente slips Napoli's second past Adrian, and it's funny, Dan. Well, it's not funny, obviously, but you've a story about Limerick and what's going on there, but it's been completely usurped by the Wales story and Rob Howley, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably early days in terms of the overall case, so it's maybe hard to delve into it in great detail. But the fact is, he has been sent home. Rob Howley, it's not sort of Wales has been rocked by some kind of investigation. Now, obviously, there's going to be an element of due process, but what happens here? But he has been sent home, so you can only imagine sort of covering someone being sent home, or was he sent home from a World Cup in the Japan neck of the woods? I would imagine for the lads covering the Welsh beat. With the old time difference and everything, and it was a kind of a mad story that broke around yesterday afternoon, wasn't it, Irish time? So it was pretty late at night over there. Have you read much about it? Yes, no. I mean, I just read that it would appear that there was a discussion between staff ahead of the decision for him to go home. So clearly within the camp, they had a discussion about how this should be handled. I don't know, have you sort of on top of the full details of it? I haven't actually, no, and it's just grim, but unfortunately, like, the whole betting thing is so ubiquitous now. I think stuff like this is, unfortunately, we're going to have to become used to it. Like, it's an alleged breach of World Rugby's Regulation 6. Just reading in the Star here this morning. Did you read actually you did listen to the news round yesterday? Dame Delaney was on about this, and like footballers basically not being able to bet on anything, and he used a kind of an unhelpful example that he couldn't bet on Chinese football, and I was like, maybe if you said like, I'd like to have a bet on the Man United game, but it's absolutely ridiculous, really. Like Damien Delaney, when he was playing, couldn't have a bet, we'll say, on like Man City and Juventus. Like, it's just stupid. Like, it doesn't. I remember Conor Clifford was done for like fairly minor misdemeanors, really very minor. Yeah, and his name was sullied. It's a difficult topic because like the lines have to be drawn somewhere in terms of like the integrity of a competition, and I do sort of agree. Like, I mean, I know that for example, players in Ireland who have, say, participated in the Champions League qualifiers, I don't think they can bet on the Champions League competition at all. Yeah. Even though it's hard to see how like the actions of one player in Ireland, should really preclude them from having an interest in, I don't know, Karabag against Slavia Prague. But them's the rules as well. Like, there is an element of education about it, and like there is like the area. Wife, of course, can have a bet. Well, yeah. I'm sure there's resourceful people, if they really want to, can get around it. But the point is, like, one of the biggest problems facing sport is still gambling. And there is massive stories raised around gambling in sport. It's one of the main talking points in football in terms of counteracting the influence that sort of betting syndicates are having in the game on a number of levels. So if you have a situation where there's no rules preventing athletes from punting, it may seem unfair. It may seem out of context or out of sync with the world that they inhabit. But it's a slippery slope if you sort of have a free rein either. So I can understand why you have to put rules in. But in this particular case, I don't think we have the details yet, unless I'm mistaken, of what the specific bet was on. And that's obviously going to determine, I suppose, the level of sympathy or otherwise for the person involved. You have the Star there. The Star, yeah. Well, it's deja blue, as we see. Klopp's champs beaten again in Naples. Liverpool boss Jurgen Klopp said last night's defeat in Naples really hurt because, of course, they lost there last year in the group stages. So Liverpool, you think about it, they were European champions, but they lost all their away games in the group stages last year. And like, people say that there isn't a huge amount of suspense in the groups. There's always this line before the groups start, and nothing ever really happens in the groups. You sort of forget Liverpool and Spurs really both could have gone out last year. Liverpool went through in goal difference, and goals scored. Was that the game in Anfield against Napoli where Napoli missed an absolute sitter like right at the end, basically, and these are the moments. But we will get to it later. They weren't convincing at all last night, though. I thought Napoli always looked like they were on the cusp of potentially scoring in the game, and obviously got two. Yeah, I suppose it depends. Like, I mean, I thought they looked a bit fatigued at times. I mean, Robertson for the penalty late on. He looked tired, didn't he? It was a bit of a maybe contested decision, but it was still a sort of a tired challenge that gave the ref a decision to make. And there's just a few moments in the game. There was a great moment with Mane and Salah with the 2-on-1 and with the recent dynamics, and Mane overplayed it. I don't know, like, you wouldn't be going mad over it. You obviously think that they're going to be good enough to get through the group. They'll have the points to get through the rest of the group.
Makes it interesting.
Leaves them on the back foot a small bit.
Just want to show the front of the Times here, because there's a photo of the main attraction, M-A-N-E, not the Mane attraction, but the main attraction, which is Julie Delaney. Because I just wanted to reference, obviously we're not actually doing we're not proper journalists, we're not doing the news round of stuff that matters, we're doing sport.
Stick to yourself.
But you know, my mate John B.
matters, a picture of a horse.
John
Is that the serious topic you wanted to discuss in the news pages?
No,
there's more going on the front page of the Irish Times than that.
I wanted to bring up, you know, my mate from Portumna, John B. Keneally.
I do, but the listeners may not.
So his sister Alva works for RT, but she was at the Ploughing Championship yesterday, and she put up a tweet that at stall 399 they were having a kind of a competition for Ireland's favourite prayer. It's just like, is this Father Ted? And she goes, tea is also available. So I was like, what would Ireland's favourite prayer be? Like Hail Mary?
It's supposed to be the greatest hits, wouldn't it?
It'd be up there.
It'd be, in terms of consistent airplay, the Hail Mary.
Hail Mary.
There.
Yeah. Do you know the story behind the Hail Mary in the NFL? You know a Hail Mary pass?
No, educate me, John.
I don't actually know it either, but roughly it goes by, like, I think it was the Super Bowl, and the quarterback, like, he just threw the ball as far as he could when they needed a touchdown, probably the last throw of the game, and he just said, I threw it up in the air, I said Hail Mary, and I hope for the best, and that's kind of where the Hail Mary pass came. The Times, obviously Sean Moran is an interesting piece here. Dublin's success owes more to population than funding. And I saw, actually, I think Primetime had something on this last night about, and it must be a bit frustrating for Dublin. You know, they've done the 5 in a row. People forget that as much as, you know, they've dominated, Dublin fans want to celebrate, their players want to celebrate, and wake up Monday and Tuesday and people are just kind of having a go at their dominance or whatever. Only winning Masters would compete with Portrush Lowry. That's Shane Lowry. What do you make of that, Dan?
Which part?
The Lowry.
Well, yeah, I think it's going to be hard for him. I think the challenge for Lowry, how do you match that high? I mean, Irish Open on the island, or sorry, British Open on the island.
Yeah.
Or sorry, the Open. It's not the British Open.
Yeah.
It's the Open Championship on the island. Like, I know his Ryder Cup, like, he's never played in the Ryder Cup before, so that's probably a real focus for him. But there is an element of guys who sometimes they win that one massive tournament, and how do you almost lift yourself to go again? So that is going to be the next part of his evolution, to actually deal with the pressure of being like that. So
a couple of things before I actually get to that. We have the Hail Mary trivia is in, and the term became widespread after a December 28, 1975 NFL playoff game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Minnesota Vikings, when Cowboys quarterback Roger Staubach, a Roman Catholic and a fan of The Godfather Part 2, I don't know, we really needed to put that in. But he was a Catholic.
He'd have his own say on the favourite prayer.
He would. I was just thinking that. If Roger's still alive and is listening, what's your favourite prayer, Roger? Whose character, Fredo, had popularised the phrase, said about his game-winning touchdown pass to wide receiver Drew Pearson, I closed my eyes and said a Hail Mary. And just data via Wikipedia there at the bottom, as if that were necessary. Yeah. The other thing is the sumo wrestler from Roscommon. That is on our social channels. You can catch that on YouTube.
There we go. Yeah, we got the Mirror this morning. Chumps, straightforward there. Liverpool.
That's a bit lazy.
I think it's not.
Chumps.
It's a bit harsh.
No, but like it's a bit like, oh, lads, what will we come up with for a headline here? Oh, deadlines, just throw anything at it. A bit disappointing. Chumps.
They're under pressure.
Yeah.
It's late in the day. Finishes around the 8 o'clock kickoffs now, so there's like 15 fewer minutes to deal with. Champs,
what's the story with that's to cater for the earlier games? Because there's
the 5:55 and the 8 o'clock now, so they've mixed things up a bit in the Champions League.
You know the way you're getting up mad early this morning. I was like, wanted to get in an episode of Marcella before I went to bed on the old Netflix.
What's Marcella?
It's kind of like a crime show based in London with a lot of murders. It's very hard to know what's going on, and I've lost it actually. Don't know what's going on. But I was like, it's 10 o'clock already. Couldn't believe it wasn't like 20 to 10. Do you know the way? And that, when you're getting up at 6 in the morning and you want to watch Marcella.
Some serious hot takes on the passing of time from you this morning.
I know. What have we got here anyway?
Later evenings.
Another one.
The Examiner Sport front page, Reds trip up. Again, a picture story. based on Liverpool's defeat in Napoli last night. Again, more stuff below on the Valley of Tears, Wales World Cup bid thrown in disarray, and screen time. White Column O'Rourke hopes Joe Brolly will return to TV punditry. Briefly,
actually, on the Joe Brolly thing. Any take on that? I know you're not mad into the guy.
No, I mean, Joe Brolly is entertaining. I mean, I really enjoyed his column actually in the Sunday.
Brilliant writer.
Is amazingly good. I do think sometimes people have a slight resistance to change when it comes to like the traditional punditry panels being broken up. Like there was a lot of grief when the Dunphy-Giles panel was broken up from the RTE days, but I mean, I didn't necessarily feel that. I felt like that sometimes something reaches the end of a cycle.
Who is your favourite football pundit?
I don't know, actually.
McDonnell?
No.
Well, overrated?
It's a bit bland, to be honest. Samey. I'm not sure. I don't necessarily know if I have.
I think you're good.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
But I don't think you're about the. I think you're everything Joe Brolly isn't. I think you haven't. You just call it as you see it. Whereas Joe Brolly was more about the sort of the performance and like the hype.
But that's what of course people want entertainment sometimes, and that's ultimately what he brought. There was a wild card element to it. That's what he brought, like talking about him like he's dead.
More NFL analogies in the wild card there.
It was excellent, but I know people, at the same time, I do listen to people who like follow the GAA and they felt maybe that first Kerry Dublin game that there was an element of pantomime about the whole thing and didn't necessarily get any analysis of it. So that's the flip side of it. And people get used to it. I think particularly in Ireland we love our characters.
Yeah.
There comes a point obviously where you maybe need a balance and a bit more analysis of the game too.
We will get Dan's favourite football pundit by the end of the show. Should also reiterate, it's not really follow the GAA. That's kind of like saying follow the FAI. It's like follow Gaelic games.
Gaelic games, yeah. But I don't like using the term GA because that's a bit...
it's kind of a bit dubby. This is the Guardian, which focuses on, obviously, Barkley misses penalty as Chelsea lose to Valencia with their young side. And Stones blow. City facing defensive crisis as injury list mounts up. It's going to be interesting as well. And obviously, Howley, the Mirror Dan has already had. And this is the Times. Wales, this is the London Times, obviously. Wales coach sent home in betting shame. And champions humbled on bad night for English.
Yeah, I've got the...
Here we go, Dan on the Indo. Box office stuff.
Here, yeah, on the Indo, injury hit Ireland.
You actually own the paper. Fight for
it would be nice to.
Yeah.
Injury hit Ireland still simmering. That's Rory in Chiba with Rhys Ruddock, who was up yesterday or 2 days ago, depending on time difference, speaking about a sense of niggling, I suppose, frustration from certain defeats and stuff that they've had. The squad is in good health and spirits. And below, the CPA concern with vote on second tier. Colin Keys, the Club Players Association, concern over the GAA's decision to press ahead with the vote on the second tier championship. And I have a story here. Actually, the joys of newspaper review here, that we have 3 editions in the Indo. So there's like an early edition, there's a sort of a secondary edition, which is the main edition, which is this one here, and there's a slightly later edition. So I have updated this in the later edition. I had a line about just no confirmation on Stephen Kenny's return home from Sweden. I gather he actually is back in the country, so he's back home. So there we go.
That's mad, yeah.
He was due back home. No, the line was he was due back home this week after taking it in Sweden, and I gather he's back in the country already, which is no big deal.
I read your piece and I was like, there's a little bit of a slightly kind of worrying tone to this, in that, like, he's not actually back out of Sweden yet, and
no, I think he's back. Yeah, I think
the later edition would be like slightly more.
Yeah, but it's just one of these things that, like, obviously the initial. He took ill last Wednesday and we'd heard nothing since then. So there comes a point where, well, actually, is he back home?
What's going on?
Not necessarily a big deal, but he's back home, I think, back to work, and full steam ahead for Italy and Iceland next month. The Sun, I've got the Sun here. Sod's Law. That's pretty good. Sod's Law.
Llorente,
Fernando Llorente.
Very handsome man, Llorente.
Got a revenge.
In terms of handsome footballers. I was actually trying to convince my girlfriend of this last night, and she wasn't really having it.
Handsome footballers.
Yeah.
Favourite prayer. We've covered all the...
Favourite pundit.
Hot.
Haven't really actually answered any of them.
No, we haven't. No. Llorente getting his revenge on Liverpool, because he was obviously on the Spurs team that lost in the Champions League final in May. And there was a reference to Mason Mount as well being hurt in the Blues flop. We haven't really talked about Chelsea, but they lost to Valencia last night.
Didn't see that game. Obviously, they have a big job ahead. Have we done the Sun?
We've done the Sun, yeah.
We've done the Indo. Seem to have 2 versions of basically the same.
I've got the
paper.
Guardian here as well. So
And the Herald as well.
The Howley sent home from World Cup amid betting investigation. Again, the Wales World Cup campaign being thrown into disarray.
I do want to mention the Herald because just on the basis that they were tagging me consistently this week on the basis that Fair City was having 30 years of Fair City, free 24-hour souvenir magazine inside.
Do you want to clarify why that would be,
They
John?
tagged me because a bit like Max Power in The Simpsons, I've kind of become Johnny Ward, the actor, of Love, Hate and Fair City fame, and I had to kind of point out to the Herald that they just kept tagging me in this.
Well, I've been tagged. I keep getting tagged in posts aimed at Daniel O'Donnell. So there was something to do with Magella's countrywide escapes, or I don't know what it was.
Tell us more.
I don't know. It's obviously Daniel O'Donnell's wife had a show.
Magella have a favourite prayer?
I'd say she would now.
Yeah.
I'd say she might be hard to narrow it down to one. But there was a show on RTE about, I don't know, something show of some description. I was being tagged in it all the time. You know, it was like coming up tonight, Magella's, countrywide homes or whatever it was. I don't know what it was. And it was very hard to clarify, just can you leave me out of this? Well, so you're Johnny Ward hell. Well, is felt by others.
The really kind of weird part of this was, it's obviously quite funny, but Johnny Ward's father actually passed away over the past year. And I was getting people saying, I'm really sorry about your dad. And I was initially, is everything all right here? And I had to, and I was saying, it's an awful tragedy for Johnny Ward, but if I ever do meet him, like the other Johnny Ward, I'm going to say, by the way, when your father died, and I'm sure in the passage of time, he'll probably, it's just a Max Power situation, the names. But anyway, the Herald had a bit of a laugh about it.
I'd have thought that Ireland could have two
Johnny Wards.
It
has a lot of wards.
Of such standing.
Yeah. Anyway, that is the papers.